محمد وعجل فرجهم أحسنتم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المذلومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we begin the Masaib of Yawm Arbaeen, just a few comments I'd like to make. First and foremost, I wanted to say Alhamdulillah, to thank Allah for this opportunity over these past few nights to be given the tawfiq to be able to have shared some points with all of you here at this wonderful community. So I thank the Masaib Islamic Center for their kind invitation, for all of you, your warm hospitality, your feedback, all the critical feedback that was given, everyone who had come here, given their focus, shared their points as well. So it was mutually beneficial. If there was anything that was said in any of these nights that was beneficial, then all khair is from Allah, and we thank Allah for that. If there was anything that was problematic, was incorrect, was deficient, insufficient, there was an error made, everything comes from me, and I ask for your forgiveness in that part, and please ask that you give me the chance to try to correct myself, inshallah ta'ala. And I hope, inshallah, one day we'll be able to meet again at some point, and we'll be able to benefit once again from each other, through the love of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and the Shuhada of Karbala, alayhim wa salatu wa salam, salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I also want to specifically thank all of the volunteers, the sponsors, organizers, all of those who usually work behind the scenes, who are not always seen, but without their efforts, these majalis become impossible. They do not happen without them. And sometimes these individuals go thankless, right? So it's good for us, right, to not just thank Allah for this opportunity to be able to perform and benefit from Aza and Azadari every year, but the fact that there are those who are continuing the tradition of the Ahlulbayt of setting up this Aza for us every single year. Many of us are just those who come and sit and benefit, and that's it. We come and we take, and that's all. And alhamdulillah, that ni'mah and that barakah is there for us. But we should, in addition to thanking Allah, to thank those, right, the actual makhluqat who are there providing this environment for us. So for myself, I thank all of you, those who sponsored, provided tabarruk, niyaz, helped out with parking, every single thing there, cleaned up. This is, a major thing, and only Allah knows the reward that lies with you in akhirah. One more salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We've been coming to these gatherings now for almost 2 months. Right? We've been coming to all these majalis. We come, we hear these points. We end with this short musibah and masaib, no hamatam afterwards. And sometimes when you ask the mu'mineen and the mu'minat about this, they say, this is a long sort of process for us, right? 2 months, almost every single night, every single weekend, we're coming, we're shedding tears, we're grieving, we're beating our chests, we're remembering all these difficulties that happened to the Ahlulbayt. And sometimes, I think without thinking, some of us say, it's almost like I'm tired of this, right? Like it's been happening so much, like okay, we get it. And, that's it, we've done our azan, and that's it, bas. And I understand, it is tiring, right? To come every day, to shed tears like this, right? To grieve and mourn like this. It's not normal for humans to do something like this, right? To come every single day, every single weekend, to dress in black, to be in this emotional state constantly. It's not normal for insan to do that. So we can understand why you and I, given our lower maqam, why we sometimes don't understand and have this sort of, in a sense, negative response to it. But if you and I are going to get tired from something like this, then you think of Hussein on Yom Ashura, dragging body after body after body from the battlefields back to the tents. Some of these bodies are left intact. Some of these bodies have been trampled by horses. Some of these bodies are his own 6-month-old child. Some of these bodies he had to leave because his own brother said, don't bring my body back to the Khayyam because I am embarrassed in front of Sakina. Leave my body over here. This is what Hussein had to deal with on Ashura. So our tiredness compares nothing to his. Think about the tiredness of Imam Sajjad as he's trying to get his Aunt Zainab to help him up when he sees the state of his father on Ashura. Pupi Amma, help me get up, give me my sword, let me go and fight. Imam Sajjad is tired, not you and I. Imam Sajjad has had enough of hearing that, no, Bunayya qad qutil, they've all been killed, Habib is gone, your brothers are gone, your uncles are gone, my soldiers, they're all gone. They are tired, not you and I. Zainab is the one who is tired, not you and I. Zainab is the one on Shami Ghariba, after bringing Imam Sajjad, after saving Imamat, after taking everybody out of the tents, after grabbing the children, putting them all together, she still has time to go into sujood, to offer her namaz al-shab, and to make dua. This is Zainab. This is what tiredness looks like. Even there, they say Zainab, even on this night, she's there with a blunt spear, a broken piece of a spear in her hand, saying, Abbas, look at me now. You were our protector from Medina to Makkah to Karbala. We left you over here. Now look at me, I am the Abbas here on Sham al-Gharib. This is the tired Zainab, and this is what she shows us. Zainab is the tired one who is being taken through the battlefield when she sees the bodies of all of her family and her friends there, when she sees the face of Imam Sajjad going pale, when Imam Sajjad sees the headless body of his father going pale. Zainab says, I can't see my nephew in this state. She falls down, not on top of On or Muhammad, but on top of her brother Hussein. Rabbana taqabbal minna hadha al-qurban. This is what the Ahlulbayt do when they are tired. From there, they are taken on camels without saddles. They are tied. They are paraded around like slaves. They're paraded around, and people are meant to show that, see, these are what the enemies of Islam look like. Na'udhu billah. They're paraded around Kufa. They're being given food and water by them. People are shedding tears. And Zainab, Imam Sajjad, Kulthum, Fatima al-Sughra are saying, what good are your tears to us right now? You are the one who shed our blood in Karbala. We are yatim because of you. We were asking for water, you didn't help then. Now do you think your tears matter to us now? We were asking for protection then. You invited us here. You Ahl Kufa, your tears don't matter to us now. Ya ajrukum ala Allah. Tiredness is going from Kufa to Sham. Along the way, every single time, Kulthum says, Imam Sajjad says, every time when we saw the heads of our family members, of our friends, every time you wanted to do a little bit of azah and majlis for them, we would feel a whip come to our back. We would feel a spear hit us on the head. We weren't even allowed to cry we weren't even allowed to shed tears for them. We come to Sham, what are we greeted with? People are throwing garbage on our heads. They're throwing boiling water on us. They're not crying for us. They're singing, they're dancing, they're clapping. It's an Eid for them. This is what we have to deal with. We come into the bazaar of Sham and we look at these young girls who are sitting there, the daughters of Imam Hussein who are there. And these mal'oon individuals in Sham are asking Yazid, what is the price for this girl? Can I buy her from you, Yazid? And when this is said, Sakina says, Bhupi Amma, bachao mujhe. Protect me from them. How can they say this about me? Don't they know who my Nana is? Ajrukum ala Allah. This is what tiredness is, mu'mineen, mu'minat, azadaran. And finally, after all of this, tiredness is after Zainab is meant to give the ghusl to Sakina, after trying to take off the clothing from Sakina and seeing that this clothing is hard to come off. The bruises have solidified on her. The blood is congealed on her. If we rip her, it's almost as if her skin is ripping off. Zainab has to deal with this as she's giving the ghusl to Sakina. Oh Sakina, we want to take you back home with us to Medina now, but we have to leave you here in the Zindan Sham. Maybe, oh maybe, us Shia will come and see Sakina there. Maybe we'll come say, Assalamu alayki ya Ruqayya. We'll come to you just to see you. We'll come and see you, Ya Zaynab. Ajrukum ala Allah. Normally, when you are and I, we come back from a long trip, we come back from a long journey, we're happy to come back home. And finally, when Yazid says, send them back to their home, send them back to their place, do you think there was any happiness in the hearts and the minds of Zainab and Imam Sajjad and all of these mothers and all these individuals? No, Zainab says we need to make a detour on the way back. The riwayat say we need to stop back at Karbala and make our ziyarah there. And as they're coming from their side, we see this one other companion, Jabir ibn Abdullah, he is also coming there as well too. Jabir, someone who the narrations say didn't have his sight. He's coming there with his companion Atiyah al-Awfi. And as they reach there, he comes to this area Ghadiriya. This area at Ghadiriya is just outside of Kufa, one of these villages in Kufa. And if only Jabir knew exactly what happened there. This area of Ghadiriya that was there outside of Kufa, when Hur had brought Imam Hussein to Karbala, there Imam Hussein said, why don't you let us come to this area of Ghadiriya? Why don't you let us wait over here instead of this area that you have over here? When Hur hears this request, he says no, because Ibn Ziyad has specifically given me an order that you have to rest at an area where there is no access to water for you. Jabir, when you're coming to Ghadiriya, as you come there, as you go to Furat, there when you go and make ghusl in Furat, Jabir, do you know that that water that you are making ghusl in, do you know that this was mamnu for Ali al-Asghar? Do you know that Sakina, this was haram for her? Jabir, you're bathing in this water, you're doing a mustahab ghusl in this water. Hussein couldn't taste one drop of water from this. Abbas lost his limbs to run to this same river to try to get water for those children. Al-Atash, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. Jabir, do you know this blessing that you can bathe in this? Jabir makes his ghusl. He puts on new clothes. He asks his companion, do you have something I can wear? He puts on this fragrance, this perfume, this atr. He comes out now, he walks barefoot, and he asks him, he says, Atiyah, show me where my Mawla is buried. Help me touch the grave of my Mawla. When he gets there, the narrations differ. One narration, one riwayah says that when he gets there, he says 3 times, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Immediately he passes out and he loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he says, Atiyah says, I heard him say, Assalamu ya ahlillah. You are the family of Allah. You are the closest ones to Allah. I send salams to you. Another narration says, when Jabir was there, when he finally touched the grave of Hussein, 3 times he says, Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Habibun la yujibu Habib. Hussein, you're my Habib. You're my friend. Why aren't you giving jawab? Jawab do. Reply to my salam, reply to me, Hussein, don't you know it's Jabir? I'm your friend, I'm your companion. The narration says that but Jabir knew, he says, how can someone whose veins have been cut from his throat, how can someone with no head reply to me? Ajrukum ala Allah. After saying this, Jabir, he passes out. He wakes up again, begins saying salam, he begins reciting his short ziyarah. We don't know exactly what happened there, but shortly after this, they say this is where Bibi Zainab, Imam Sajjad, now they make their way towards the same area. We don't know the exact conversation that took place over here. Some say that at this time, after Jabir does his ziyarah to Imam Hussein, he looks out at the other graves and sees the other shuhada. In some narrations, it says that he looks at their status and says, yes, Hussein, oh you shuhada, we were with you as well. We are all together. Atiyah makes an objection here. He says, how can you say that we were with them together? We were somewhere else. They gave their lives and now they are buried over here. He says, oh Atiyah, don't you know this hadith from my Rasul? That he said that if your hearts are with somebody, if your niyat is with somebody, if you share love in somebody's actions, you love what they do, then you are raised with them as well. It's as if you are with them. But when this happens, they say that this is when now Imam Sajjad comes closer there. When he comes closer, some people, some poets, some narrators, they say this is when Jabir and Imam Sajjad begin conversing and speaking with one another. We don't know exactly what is said there, but we can imagine now when Jabir was looking out, looking at all these graves, when he sees this headless grave in front of him of of Imam Hussein. This is perhaps where Imam Sajjad says, no, that head that you are looking for, it's over here, in this bag over here. Move away, Jabir, help me out. Let's move, let's dig this grave again. Let's take this son of my father, let's put it back here into this grave. Let's do our final ziyarah together. Perhaps he said this to Jabir. After this, maybe he took the hand of Jabir. Jabir, you saw the grave of Hussein. Let me show you every other place as well. Jabir, let me show you where my other Habib ibn Mudahir went. Let me show you that grave. Jabir, let me take you to the grave of Aun and Muhammad. Jabir, let me show you where Qasim is. Let me show you where Qasim is. But Jabir, let me take you a little bit farther away where Abbas is buried. Let me tell you why he was buried farther away. Because in his last request, he said he'd leave my body over here because I don't want to come back to the tents where Sakina is, where she's been waiting for me to bring that body. And this is why, some narrations say when Abbas had been coming back from Furat, they say that that place where Imam Hussein had found him, before Imam Hussein had found the body of Abbas, they say that Imam Hussein, when he was going forward, first he found some of the limbs of Abbas, and then he came to the body of Abbas. So some historians are confused of why did something like that happen, and they say that the only way we can explain this is that once Abbas realized, after his limbs were cut, after he saw there was no pani left, after there was an arrow in that container, he must have turned back around and went back towards Furat, saying that I can't go back to the tents without pani for Sakina. We would say, Abbas, you have no hands, you have no arms, you can't see straight. What did you think you were going to do? Ajrukum ala Allah. Jabir is going around mentioning, seeing Imam Sajjad showing him grave after grave after grave. Perhaps this is when maybe Jabir said, let me show you another place. Let me show you the hardest thing for my Mawla was when he was tripping on his way to the body of Ali al-Akbar, my brother. Let me show you what happened over here, where he had so much pain in that chest. And Hussein, my father, had to pull this spear out from his chest. Let me now show you to the most difficult part. Let me take you to this tiny grave over here. This is the grave of my brother Ali al-Asghar. Do you know, he is the youngest mujahid, the youngest shaheed in Karbala. My father went out just to get him some water, and he was quenched with an arrow into his throat, Jabir. Do you know this is what happened? Ajrukum ala Allah. After all of this, they say they remained in Karbala for 3 days. After these 3 days, they say that previously, that some riwayat say, Imam Hussein had told Imam Sajjad, when you come back for the ziyarah, make sure that they're not allowed to remain there for more than 3 days. Take them back to their homes after this. But you see some of the women, some of the children, they were crying. They're saying, what can we do? We don't want to go back home. When we go back home, our Baba is not there anymore. My Bhai is not there anymore. My Chacha is not there anymore. My Akhi is not there anymore. When we go back, what are we going back to? As they pick up themselves, they slowly make their way back to Medina. There are various lines of poetry that are recited. Some of the Ahlulbayt are crying out, Ya Ahl Medina, what have you done to us? Do you know what has happened to us? Do you want to know what has happened to the family of Rasulullah? And if only we can see and understand and picture that some individuals did not have a clear understanding of what happened there. Just like for Imam Sajjad, when Imam Hussein had come to him on Yom Ashura, when Imam Sajjad couldn't even recognize his own father when he came inside the tents, Abdullah ibn Jafar hears a voice outside as well, the voice of a female. Abdullah ibn Jafar comes to the door. He opens the door. He sees this old woman at his door. Ya Shaykha, what do you want from me? Ya Shaykha, who are you? What do you need from me? And she says, Ya Abdullah, don't you know, Ana Zainab bint Ali, Ana Zawjatik. Don't you recognize who I am? Is this the asar of going to Karbala and Kufa and Sham that you can't recognize me? She comes inside, she looks inside perhaps and sees her two musallas, these two small musallas, the janamaz. She sees the small beds and says, Ya Aun Muhammad. Finally now she's able to grieve. Wa Auna, wa Muhammada, wa Husayna. And this is not the end of the musibah. Even some there, we know one of the youngest children there was also Imam Baqir. Imam Baqir was there present with Imam Sajjad. And maybe as a young child, he didn't recognize how bad it was while they were going from Kufa to Sham and how much difficulty his own father had to go through. We recognize this when when Imam Baqir is with his father on his deathbed, when he's with Imam Sajjad on his deathbed, when that poison had taken effect, he tells his father, Baba, I'm putting down a mattress for you. Why don't you lay down on this mattress so it's more comfortable for you? Imam Sajjad says to his son, he says to Imam Baqir, Ya bunayya, no, leave me on the floor without a mattress. He says, no, Baba, this will be more comfortable for you. Lay down on this mattress. I know there's kamzuri. I know there's poisons affecting your body. Be comfortable in your last few moments. He says, well, why are you rejecting this? Why are you refusing? He says, because you don't know the way I saw your grandfather, my father Hussein, on the battlefield of Karbala. When I saw his body on the sands, I couldn't tell the difference between his bones, his body, and the sands of Karbala. It all looked the same. How can I ever sleep on a mattress ever again? Ajrukum ala Allah. After Imam Sajjad passes, Imam Baqir and the other Shias are performing his ghusl. As they're doing this, they look at his neck, they see the marks on his neck. Imam Baqir cries out, this is what my father was hiding from me. When he looks at the marks on his chest, on his back, these are the marks of shimmer. These are the whips of shimmer. These are the marks of the spears that were done to Imam. When my father was tied together and he was unable to move, this is what I didn't know. The same thing Fatima hid from Ali. This is what Imam Sajjad hid from me. Ala la'natullah ala qawmi zalimeen wa saya'lamu alladhina zalamu ayyu munqalibin yanqalibun inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un ridan biqada'ihi wa tasliman li amrihi. Matam Hussein.